So there are some key terminology like transduction, sensory adaptation, and cocktail party phenomenon, and sensation perception, energy senses, chemical senses, vision, cornea, pupil, lens, retina, and so on, and color blindness, and hearing sound waves, and pitch series, and touch, and taste, smell, and kinesthetic sense, absolute stressor, and Weber's law, top-down processing, bottom-up processing, similarity, continuity, and so on. So, and there's many famous people, Weber and Gibson, and then. So let's look at overview. Right now, as you read this, your eyes capture the light reflected off the page in front of you. So that's why you can see the letter. Structures in your eyes changes this pattern of light into signals that are sent to your brain and then interpreted as language. So may you understand, right?
Right.
Yeah, the sensation of the symbols on the page and the perception of these symbols as well allow you to understand what you are reading. All our senses work in a similar way. In general, our sensory organs receive stimuli. These messages go through a process called transduction, which means the signals are transformed into neural impulses. These neural impulses travel first to the thalamus, then on to different cortices of the brain. So what we sense and here perceive is influenced by many factors, including how long we are exposed to stimuli. For example, you probably felt your socks when you put them on this morning, but you stop feeling them after a while. You probably stop perceiving the feeling of your socks on your feet because of a combination of sensory adaptation. This is decreasing responsiveness to stimuli due to constant stimulation. And sensory habituation. What we perceive is determined by what sensations activate our sense and by what we focus on perceiving. We can voluntarily attend to stimuli in order to perceive them, as you are doing right now, but paying attention can also be involuntarily. If you are talking with a friend and someone across the room says your name, your attention will probably involuntarily switch across the room. This process is our only way to get information about the outside world. The exact distinction between what is sensation and what is perception is debated by psychologists and philosophers. For our purpose, though, we can think of sensation. Sensation is as activation of our sense, like sensation is eyes and ears and so on. And perception as a process of understanding this sensation. This is what difference between sensation and perception. So we'll review the structure and function of each sensory organ and then explain some concepts involved in perception. So firstly, energy sense, vision. So vision is the dominant sense in human being. So sighted people use vision to gather information about our environment more than any other sense. The process of vision involves several steps. So step 1 is gathering light. Firstly, they just gather some light. Vision is a complicated process and you should have a basic understanding of the structure and processes involved for the AP test. First, light is reflected off object and gathered by the eye. Visible light is a small section of the electromagnetic spectrum that you may have studied in your science classes. The color we perceive depends on several factors. One is light intensity. It describes how much energy the light contains. This factor determines how bright the object appears. A second factor, light wavelength, determines the particular hue we see. Wavelengths longer than visible light are infrared waves, microwaves, and radio waves. Wavelengths shorter than visible light include ultraviolet waves and X-rays. So we see different wavelengths within the visible light spectrum as different colors. The colors of the visible spectrum in order from longest to shortest wavelengths are red, orange, this is like violet, so yellow color, the rainbow color. You probably were taught the acronym ROSI to help you remember this order. As you also no doubt thought, when you mix all these colors of light waves together, you get white light or sunlight. Although we think of objects as processing colors, object appears the color they do as a result of the wavelengths of light it reflects. A red shirt reflects red light and observe other colors. That's why we just think that is red color. An object appears black because they observed all colors, and white because they reflect all wavelengths of light. That's why we just think the object is black. And step 2, within the eye. So when you look at something, we turn our eyes toward the object and reflected light coming from the object enters our eye. To understand the following descriptions, refer to figure 1 for structure in the eye. The reflected light first enters the eye through the cornea, a protective covering. The cornea also helps focus the light. Then the light goes through the pupil. The pupil is like the shutter of a camera. It's a kind of shutter. The muscles that controls the pupil is called the iris. And open it to let more light in and also make it smaller to let less light in. Through a process called accommodation, light that enters the pupil is focused by the lens. The lens is curved and flexible in order to focus the light. Try this. Hold up one finger and focus on it. Now change your focus and look at the wall behind your finger. Then look at the finger again. You can feel the muscles changing the shape of your lens as you switch your focus. As the light passes through the lens, the image is flipped upside down and inverted. The focused inverted image projects on the retina, which is like a screen on the back of your eye. On this screen are specialized neurons that are activated by the different wavelengths of light. And now step 3, transduction. The term transduction refers to the translation of incoming stimuli into neural signals. This term applies not only to vision but to all other senses. In vision, transduction occurs when light activates neurons in the retina. Actually, several layers of cells are in the retina. The first layer of cells is directly activated by light. These cells are cones. Cells are activated by color, and last, cells that respond to black and white. These cells are arranged in a pattern on the retina. Last are number cones. And are distributed throughout the retina. Cones are concentrated toward the center of retina. At the very center of retina is an indentation called fovea that contains the highest concentration of cones. If you focus on something, you are focusing the light onto your fovea and see it in color. So this is your eye, and this is pupil, this is iris, this is cornea, this is lens, and this is retina. And here, blind spot, optic nerves, fovea centrales. Your peripheral vision, especially at the extreme, relies on rod and is mostly in black and white. Your peripheral vision may seem to be full color, but controlled experiments prove otherwise. You can try this yourself. So if enough glass and cones fire in an area of the retina, they activate the next layer of bipolar cells. If enough bipolar cells fire, the next layer of cells is activated. The excess of ganglion cells make up the optic nerves that sends these impulses to a specific region in the thalamus called the lateral geniculate nucleus, LGN. From there, the messages are sent to the visual cortices located in the occipital lobes